Hi, in today's episode of Angie's India, my guest is a fashion icon. She's a pillar and a superstar in the fashion world. She has made India proud and taken Indian fashion to new levels globally. Reena has not only been a fashion designer, well known and one of the best in India, but also globally. Her clothes have been worn by several celebrities in India and the world. Today, she is positioning herself as a leading designer from India globally and shining and making India shine. That is why today I've invited my friend Reena to this show, Angie's India, as one of India's fashion superstars. She doesn't talk much about her work, and I have seen over the last 20-25 years that I've known her that she really works hard. Some people talk less and do more PR, but Reena has always worked hard, talk less. And some people always talk much more and do a lot of PR and showcase how well and big and known they are, but they do less work. Reena is a true hard worker. She has seen and made her own factory, gets her own work done. She has her own team, her own skill labor, and also has taken fashion to new heights. Let me introduce to you today Reena, my friend. Hi Reena, how are you?
I'm very well, and I'm very touched with the
introduction. But I think you truly deserve it.
Also, what was very nice, Angie, was how you brought in elements which sometimes in the rush of our lives we forget. How you perceived me, so I appreciate. I'm thankful.
Yes, because I've always seen you work hard.
Thank you.
I've seen everybody always talks about the glamorous side of fashion, but they don't see the other side of getting the production done and getting the silhouettes ready and the execution done to perfection. And I've always seen you try to get that done in all the years that I've known you. And I shouldn't be saying a lot of the other big fashion designers in the country have always showcased more and probably done less, and their teams and their assistants have done. But you have always been hands-on. And today I feel at this stage of your career, the way and the respect and the success you're getting, it really makes me happy and proud. And you've literally fought this battle all alone. I know you're married to a lovely gentleman and you have a beautiful family, but you have done your journey as a fashion designer all by yourself, and I've seen it because we had stores close to each other, and
Yes,
I saw all those years. So Reena, when did you actually start and start your career as a fashion designer, and since at what age did you want to become a fashion designer?
To be honest, when I came about, we didn't have a fashion industry in India.
Very true.
And right after my class 10th, in fact, concept of +2 was also not there. I went in to do my graduation, which was called pre-university, for a year. And I was in Chandigarh. My father is old family of farming. And being a boarding school kid, Delhi was a big city, and they wanted I wanted to come here, and I was a fashionista, of course. Most of my experiments were on myself, and at that point we only had 1 or 2 fashion schools in India. I joined them not because I was interested in fashion or it was an avenue I thought of. It was actually my father's way of putting me in a college under his eyes. I was rebelling on it because I thought fashion schools were meant for people who were not doing well in studies. On my part, to my credit, I was reasonably good. And I enjoyed the competitive side of education, and I wanted to do well in it. Under my parents' eye, I felt I was not in the right place. But one thing led to the other. That introduction to fashion at that time put me in one of the biggest export houses in India. That time was called Intercraft. In northern India, South India, they had the Hindujas had a bigger, Gokul Das was bigger. And but that brought me in touch with the international high street buyers. So for Selfridges, there was Neiman Marcus, Macy's, all them would be in India to place their orders or to sample. Giorgio Cowton, a very big brand then in Italy. So there was no concept even in the world as such of designer wear at that point. And but I learned the trade from the best, from the masters, from the people who knew how to understand clothing inside out, how to get embroideries, technique. Even Madame Dere, René Dere used to that time visit the factories. That was my introduction to the fashion world. And once I went in there, there was no turning back. I'm still there. There is no escape from that kitchen. And that's what fashion is. It's a drug. It keeps us all so obsessively occupied.
Yeah.
And you don't know when decades flew. And when fashion became so big in India, from the time when I saw it in the 90s.
Yes. In fact, one of the main reasons I wanted you on the show was because today everybody talks of the new fashion designers who are making all the news and shaking the world with Indian fashion. But I keep telling everyone that there were these 5-7 designers, and you were one of them, who built the foundation of the fashion fraternity, and who actually were, as you say, like an agriculture revolution. You were the real guys who formed the fashion, how would you say it, who made India proud at that stage, and these guys have taken over from there.
So basically that's why we were the greatest stepping stones.
Yeah, you were the stepping stones, yes.
So we laid the foundation of the early years of fashion.
Early years, yes.
And it was very significant that
Yes,
time.
because it was tougher then than now, according to me.
Also,
India was not so well known and such a leading nation at that time versus now.
No, so we didn't realize at that time that what we were doing in our lives will have such a big role going forward 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down, and how every person, school education, everywhere, so many brilliant people would follow our path.
Yes.
So
you were the mentors, the real mentors.
Well, we started our journey without that thought. But yes, I was one of the few in Delhi.
And the architects.
And we were the first, yeah. There was just, I would say we, because there were others with me.
3, 4, 5
5 or
others.
6 of us. And there was no Delhi, Mumbai then. There was just India.
Yes.
And even our customers, our great, marvelous clients, there were few. So since you spoke of Kumar Mangalam Birla ji, he was one of our few early patrons.
Okay.
He was one of the first guys who owned a plane then in India.
Yes.
And he used to fly down specially to shop for his wife.
Okay.
And his eyes understood clothing. We just didn't know till then that how I now know his factories. I worked with Liva, one of his arms. Business arms, which makes recycled fiber, cloth made from recycled fiber. And so yes, what I have witnessed was a revolution in India, because at that point I didn't realize that as a young girl I'm a part of such a big future, which we just put the wheels in motion. Today they're of course flying. We are in the middle of the Ambani wedding, as you see. And you see fashion there. You
everywhere.
See LA, Hollywood, international celebrities dancing like they're a part of the family, because they so want to be included in that. And
also, that time there were not that many skilled workers as compared to now. That time PR and positioning a brand was not so articulate that it is today, and still you guys were at it and constantly working towards a goal which you probably didn't know how big it would become as it is today.
To be honest, when I was very young, I got a lot of offers, and serious offers, to be either a photo model, because I'm not tall to be a runway model, and even once I was at Jazz Bar. I was a place in the Moria.
At that time,
where at that age I had short hair. I got picked up by this crew of Madame Figaro in France, a magazine, and they took me to Chandni Chowk to shoot some of the clothes of the designers they had brought to India, and I became a face for them. I have no proof of it, unfortunately, today, but it exists somewhere in the books. And but I was so hell-bent on being a designer, because I didn't want anything to focus on me. I wanted to be proudly behind the scenes. Unfortunately, it's reversed. At my older age, I am much more in front of my scenes than I should have been when I was young and perfect looking.
That's what I said, that you always worked harder
Yeah.
and you did less PR, and
Yes.
today you're more in the limelight.
Yeah.
And I think it's well deserved, because you've actually struggled and made India in the fashion fraternity globally, and one of the architects who are responsible for that.
Yeah.
So there is this place, there's the FDCI as
Yes.
well now.
Yeah.
So how do you see their role in positioning India in the fashion world? Or is it you individual fashion designers, the leading fashion designers of India, who are positioning yourself? Is it like a group or a fraternity, or is it an individual now?
So FDCI, I'm one of the founder members of it. And it got formed very simply over us tired designers who did all our work ourselves. I used to take my little red Maruti and I used to go all over driving it. I had to do my own merchandising. I had to pick up my own stocks.
Right.
I would talk to the tailors, sometimes cut patterns myself. I would even go down to my little Hoskas village store,
Yes.
just down to even meet clients. I mean, even people like Dimple Kapadia, then Twinkle Khanna, when
Yes.
very young,
Yes.
even they would visit there because they'd heard of it.
Yes.
So that was be a walk-in, like not by promotion. Because you've rightly said, I'm still somebody who's hidden myself in a
Yes, you
room.
have.
I want to hide in a tailoring room and I'm very happy there.
Yeah.
Where the clothes go is not really for me.
When it should have been the other way around.
It should have been the
actually.
other way around.
Yes.
Yeah, so I've been fortunate wherein my client has spoken about my work, where
Yes.
they've worn it and it's brought me a lot of goodwill and you know, the wow factor which your clothes carry when they wear it, and gratification for the same. But yes, fashion, you know, is a Fashion Designers Council of India. There was me, Geetu Kashyap, Suneet,
Yes.
I'm not so sure, Rohit Bal,
Yes.
and there was just maybe Tarun in
Yeah.
Mumbai, who's been always a key player
Yes.
in supporting design industry.
Yes.
So a few of us over tea, biscuits in Suneet's house, I think, we formed FDCI.
Okay.
NIFT had a thing, Mr. Saptrishi then, and they became a part of it. And it was actually a phone call away, our life those days.
Yes.
And we didn't realize that FDCI would become,
Yes.
it was then with Lakme.
Yes.
And Mr. Anil was heading it, I think. But our first show, I remember when we did in the Taj in Mumbai, in the hall, we had from late Parmeshwar Godrej,
Yes.
and you know, Maureen Wadia,
Wadia, that
and there were film stars were in the back rows.
Yes, and the corporates were in the front rows,
Corporates
yes.
were in the front.
Yes.
That was society then.
Yeah.
And
Today it's reversed. To a
today
large
it's reversed.
extent, yes.
And then I remember Karina, all of them were not in the front row. It was not even there. Me, Manish and Rohit Bal, we did a grand finale. And how hard it was to get a seat in that room. Today, to get anybody to attend your show
Yes.
is also a challenge.
Yes.
People have other choices. They don't want to hang with cards, invites, screenings, parking. It's a pain for them.
They don't want to deal with it. Yeah.
Yes, but a new era has come through, which is of the very new celebrity on social media, the influencers. They get the front rows now. So you don't even need to be a movie star anymore. Movie star may be a showstopper.
Well,
That concept also came through later.
Well, personally, I would say I would still think the corporate should be first, and then the film stars, and then the influencers.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I guess the world has its own new ways, and
Yeah.
we have to go move with the times.
Exactly.
But are you more inclined to retail or export? Because you said earlier that you met a lot of people from Neiman Marcus and
Yeah.
a lot of other stores globally. So have you been inclined towards more export or creating your own brand in India?
To be honest, Angie, you know, in this speed we have run,
Yeah.
there's been a lot of time, life changes also. Post-COVID, I decided that I could be small. I don't have to deal with so much of labor and its issues. And I found myself married to the job. When I would be, like to give an example, on a boat in Sardinia, I'd be taking a call from somebody in a shop or some client who the factory staff may have messed up. It was still, the onus was on to me. So yes, the children also grew up, but Thank you to my family who
Yes.
put all the hours behind and even
Yes.
the help I had. But as a working mother, I had tremendous guilt, and I always empathize with women like myself who have had to leave their children or their kids to go out and pursue a career because they are themselves in trauma while their kids are being looked after,
Yes.
especially when they're small, by a family member or a husband or whoever supports. So they play a very big role also in our lives when we work, especially career women. Yeah, but now I'm no more that big factory. I am chosen to be a small sampling atelier. I work for my old workers are with me still. They also grew old. They were young guys when they came.
Yes.
And now we just sort of run a system which is more about their sustenance or less about making profits. And for me, what I try and do is I enjoy being with the young. I really love to see how fantastic their work is. I'm gobsmacked by some of our young talent we have in our country who have either learnt on the job, even housewives who, if you do exhibitions,
Yes,
pop-ups, you'll never know who's going. It's not because you're known or you have a background which has given you, you know,
Yes,
the
yes,
fashions
yes, yeah.
hierarchy. It doesn't matter there.
They just want to earn and make money and be there.
And you as a client are finding a better product every day, a better price product. Sometimes I do exhibitions in Dubai, as I've told you,
Yes,
so Preeti.
yes.
And I have found that even working with the Pakistani talent, it is incredible how phenomenal the work, the quality of work, quality of design, the appealability, the price points. I mean, there is so much out there to learn from your peers. And today my peers can be my own next gen or my friends' kids or themselves.
Yes.
So hats off, it's a level playing field and times have changed.
There are a lot of designers who have their fashion shows now on international, like the Paris Fashion Week or the
Yes.
London. Have you ever seen wanting to have one?
I've done
you actually have
London Fashion Week, yes, twice.
Yes, you have.
So in the old days, there was a different system,
Yes.
wherein a designer would need product to get vetted. Branding didn't matter.
Today it's branding.
Today it's branding.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
You didn't do that when you're one
So
of the
when the
real heroes.
vetting time, I think they said to me that only you and Manish Arora have made it in the natural vetting systems.
Yes.
I did do 2 seasons. For Paris, what happened is my contemporaries who did Paris Fashion Week, it's fantastic. But I felt at that point, when I did Fashion Weeks, you need to be away for a week. And I didn't have that luxury of time, space to
Be away.
be away
and
for
put
a
it
week.
all together. And, yes.
Now I try and do the weekends for the shows, which I can, and also then to run your stores. And I was alone in my family.
Yes, I know that, yes.
I couldn't. I
Cope
wasn't
with,
able to do with that. I know the expectation, and I know how to do it, but I couldn't do it then. And even now, I'm still iffish because my next gen so far hasn't understood how tough fashion trade is. It's called a rag trade, and it has a word deadline.
Yes. I've seen because I always realized how big fashion was and how deadline driven it was because my family's been in the exports of
So you know how much money the exporter
exports
loses.
and QCs and check and shipments and working till 5 a.m. to get your shipments out. And I've also seen, I'm a graduate of architecture interiors from FIT. So it was driven by, it was called Fashion Institute of New York, and I realized how big fashion was and how I could see at that time how big India was going to become in the fashion world because I was there for those 3-4 years.
And look at the story of India today, where we all may have started that fire, but where it's spread today is incredible. There is a Nancy Tyagi. I didn't know who she was till I saw her on social media. That girl has been invited to Cannes Film Festival. She is tailoring her own clothes. And she is buying them and showing that process. And how it is so miraculous for me to see such stories. And why not? And I think that's what the future is, that this is who we are. And we are not afraid, we're not pretending. And it's great to see girls like her today.
Your fashion has been very identity driven. I've worn a lot of your clothes and I've seen them at your stores. and seen a lot of our common friends also wear them. But some people who are always into hardcore only wedding.
Yes.
But you always kept your own identity of a mix between Western and Indian,
Yeah.
and like a evening wear or a dinner wear, or yet even for a light wedding function. How come you never went into hardcore wedding?
I know
Which
you've
I
been
think
saying,
you should.
yeah,
I've been
yeah.
telling you to do it for a long time, where you've just seen the wedding of the year and you've seen it's all about fashion and lehengas and all. And when you're so talented, then why did you not do it earlier? And you still can. You're
I
still
do
so young.
weddings. In fact, today, right now, as I sit here, some wedding pieces are going
Yes.
for a client, a young girl, in fact. But right now, the lehenga is having a moment.
Yes.
And it's fantastic.
Yes.
But trends change. You know, there was a phase where anarkali came.
Yes.
Then prior to that, there was a kurti.
Yes.
Then we thought it will not end, but it did change.
Well, the lehenga, like the sari, has to arrive because at one of the weddings, the wedding of the year functions earlier this year, Ivanka Trump was wearing a lehenga.
Yeah, but she's Ivanka Trump. She looks like a supermodel.
No, but she was wearing an Indian. But she was wearing an Indian lehenga.
Why
And
not? And they should
what I'm
start
talking
wearing
about
them
is our
anywhere.
Indian
Yeah,
clothes. Yes.
yeah. Maybe one day they'll be wearing the cholis and lehengas, other than in just costume parties, where they
Yes.
will choose to wear them anywhere for any function. And you know, Indian clothes are being very well distributed across the world, from
Yes.
Australia to wherever. I mean,
Yes.
through Nika,
Exported,
various
yes, yes,
mediums are
yes.
doing it. Aza, there's so many sites now doing
Yes.
it. Pernia pop up. So
So
yeah,
that's the online side of it. Then there is the
Physical
retail side,
stores,
and
yeah.
then there are the fashion weeks.
and you got
and then there are
Sabyasachi who's gone and opened so much, such beautiful stores in America.
What are your views, being one of the pillars of and the architects of the fashion industry, this new thing of corporates buying out fashion houses?
They should have done
see,
it so many
them,
years ago.
It's a business. They've realized how big it's a business proposition today. So, would you still like to keep your identity and still grow, or would you like to be in partnership with the business houses today?
So I don't know. So my life is still now being overruled by other life conditions. It's like a friend of mine I was having a sigh moment with, Surina Nurula. I'll name her because I hope
Yes.
she doesn't mind. And I'm like, oh God, Surina, I feel sometimes I've been such a has-been. She goes, no, you haven't. I said, look what I could have done and I didn't. She said, but you kept your family. So there are always
pluses and minuses.
Yeah.
So did your husband support you always in your...
Look, there's always a price to pay for every woman who goes
Yes.
out to
Yes.
work and has children, especially in trades like ours, which are very hands-on, which involve travel. You are constantly going to be in the spotlight while the
Yes.
family lies in shadows. So there is always going to be
a bit of...
they will
synergy.
it's never easy for any family, and I do know now that every time you see all these career women with their children shining, and a lot of my contemporaries who worked with me, like you're interviewing me, so many of them were then editors of magazines, and I've seen now their second gen, and it's very nice to see how well the kids have done.
Yes.
You know, so like I always
So you try to bring a balance between your profession and your family life.
Yeah, but I
You feel-
always tell 2-3 things to the younger gen, which the
Yes.
mistakes I saw over time. One
Yes,
is,
please tell us that. That's what I want everyone to
yeah.
know.
So when I'm like in fashion, I always tell, I see some of my other contemporaries, they bring their kids to work. It helps, of course, if both of them partners
Yes.
are in the same trade. Then the children follow the family and they pick up on the job. They're naturals then. They're second gen. So yes, take your kids to work, because those who are self-employed, and it's great. However
They will
annoying
learn.
they may be, however distracting they may
They'll
be,
still learn.
they will still benefit from being in your shadows, in your
shadow, yes.
environment. I feel that's the best thing you can do, and you become a healthier, happier person.
You have support.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're more productive, because even if the child is driving you mad and you want to, you know, because the energy levels are different,
Yes.
and you will be diverted because you're going to try and do your work and child needs your attention. So I think take them to work is definitely for me a better choice than leaving them behind. The other thing is the younger generation is, so many of them are so afraid of being photographed, of I'm not looking my perfect, I have to do my hair. You're perfect at this age. When you
Yeah.
look back at your time, keep a blog of your own lives. You
Yes.
never know where this journey is taking all of us.
Yes, that's true. So you would advise them to keep working, follow, be involved in their family businesses and learn from that?
Yeah, it's always good, whether it's being a cook, whether it's cleaning, anything you do. A camera guy, I mean, sure, if you want to take your kids to along,
Yes,
they will
he'll learn,
they'll be
yes.
so good.
Good, yes.
Of course, it's hard because in certain professions, children of a certain age are not welcome, but I feel we should add that up because families are growing, costs are higher, you know, and where are you going to leave your children? So I feel...
How would you, today, if you had to advise all the young kids who want to do fashion,
Yeah.
how would you advise them which career to pick? Like in the sense to do more exports, more retail, more online, do more pop-ups, because there are also branches which have developed.
Yeah.
Or create a brand like you did and contribute to the nation.
You know, there's nothing, when you're young, I'll also look back at myself. Youth is selfish. It's about yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and the other thing is your peers are very important.
Yes.
So there is a lot of what the other guy is doing. You want to be in that kind of a scene. So my advice may or may not work. But yes, going forward, I feel each one of us has a natural instinct. Two, we must constantly learn. Train. And it's always a never-ending process. It helps us. So I think with youth, what it is they, in fashion, what they do is they tend to go for the stereotype. They have seen, they're so influenced with what is in their hands because look at the world. They came in the 90s, some are born in 2000 and they're studying fashion. And so for them, the world is different from where we were. We learned it differently. So their attention span is also less. They are unable to do the small odd jobs till they become proficient.
Right.
So, or become masters. And sometimes support staff is better than being an entrepreneur yourself because costs are very high today.
Very high, yes.
So I would say is follow your own instincts. I always tell the ones who like talking, are expressive, are very well styled to go into the alternative profession of sales and related professions. The ones who are wanting to be like me, BTS, they should stick to the manufacturing part of the trade. And there is always or partner with the two. Your partnerships always do well in fashion.
So that's a good advice to most of them, most of the youth and the young people who want to get into fashion. I'd like to ask you a few 5 quick rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Export or retail, export in fashion or retail in fashion?
Retail in fashion.
Okay. Branding or being a wholesale manufacturer? Creating a brand or being a wholesale manufacturer?
Creating a brand for me.
Okay. Designing yourself and keeping a small store or a brand or having a big setup where your assistants design for you?
No, I'm small. I'm a happy
You've
smallie.
always been, yes,
Yeah.
I know that. And that's why I asked. Because I want people to understand that that also has its own beauty.
Yes.
And so you like soft palettes or bright palettes?
I tend to like both, to be honest.
Okay. Being from an interior background, I ask everyone this question: if you had to design your home, would it be classic or modern?
I like India modern, and I'm an Indian designer,
Yes.
and with a modern thought process. Plus,
Yes.
I'm a female who grew up in a conservative household.
Yes.
So, package those thoughts so it reflected in my work.
Yes.
And also reflects in the homes.
So classic then.
Yeah, I've bought from you your lovely
Yes.
classic
Yes,
pieces.
Yes, and
Yeah.
you should buy more again.
Yes.
And there's never an end to it. Both of us are business women and both of us would love to promote each other and encourage each other in our journeys.
Yes.
So my guests and friends, this is my friend Reena, a lady who's been a pillar and architect of Indian fashion, but she's always talked less, never promoted herself like all the others have. But today, I really feel she should. She's still young and many more miles to go. And very soon, I'm sure we're going to see her either in south of France or we're going to see her in one of the fashion weeks and have a big, nice show. So watch out for Reena. Call her for any mentoring. She's the best. Thank you and look forward to seeing you on my next episode.